Austrian neurologist who was born in Czech Republic and spent his life in Vienna for 80 years. After his graduation in 1881, he then set up his own practice, a private practice, in treating patients who are suffered from nervous disorders. Began his journey in unconscious mind is when Freud was working with a physiologist and a physician named Joseph Brewer in the study of neurotics under hypnosis. Joseph brought a patient in named Anna O, who was suffering from an unknown physical illnesses. To treat patients, Freud discovered that her symptoms were reduced when he helped her recover some traumatic experiences that she had repressed or hidden in the unconscious mind. This sparks the interest of the unconscious mind and spurred its development of some of his influential ideas. Freud developed the three levels of conscious, which are subconscious, unconscious, and conscious. He then revised another notion of this concept in a structural form. He uses an iceberg here as a way to explain this particular level of personality. These levels are id, ego, and superego. Is like a threat to the id. This is when the ego comes in. The ego must reduce the conflict between the id's needs and the superego's social and moral rules. Thus, according to Freud, when the conflict is too much for a person to handle, his or her ego may engage in a defense mechanism in order to protect the individual, like this one. These defense mechanisms are repression, denial, reaction formation, projection, rationalization, displacement, sublimation, and regression. In this concept, Freud assumed that children have sexual conflicts within them and revolves around in specific regions of the body. He further noted that as the child grew up at a certain age, a specific sexual conflict occurs in a particular region of the body. As the conflict occurs in each of the developmental stage, it must be resolved before the child or the infant can progress into the next stage. That children develop in a certain sexual stages, which are 5, which focuses on a different source of pleasure, which are the first one, oral, which occurs from birth to 1 year old. The next one would be anal, which occurs from 1 year to 3 years old. The third stage is phallic, which occurs from 4 to 5, and the fourth stage is latency, occurs from 5 until puberty, and the last one is genital, which occurs from adolescence throughout adulthood.
To begin with an ayah in the last part of Surah Luqman, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إن الله عنده علم الساعة وينزل الغيث ويعلم ما في الأرحام وما تدري نفس ماذا تكسب غدا وما تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت إن الله عليم خبير. So among these mafatihul ghaib, the 5 things which nobody knows exactly how they are except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that which is in the womb, the fetus. Nowadays, if you look at the knowledge and the science might tell you sometimes precisely the nature of the child in terms of gender, whether he's male or female. So the scholars have mentioned that there has to be something which is unknown to anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they excessively focus on the future of the human being, what exactly would happen. Nobody can predict that. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can tell you. And all of these explanations that you have mentioned concerning the approach of the conventional system or the modern approach of psychology, if you look at it correctly, it contradicts this fact, which is well established in Islam. The only factor that influences the future of a child, if that is part of the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the tarbiyah given to him by the parent. Not all of these assumptions, the tarbiyah given to him by the parent. That's why the child could change, a human being can change from the worst situation to a better situation, and sometimes from the better situation to a worse situation. But originally, we are not bad. We are upon the fitrah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with.
The psychosexual stages, they mentioned like the daughter have more attachment to father and the son have more attachment to mother because of a kind of like sexual desire or something. Is it something mentioned in
no, these are all determined by the environment. In the past, we don't read things like this. But in the present day of our time, you hear about these things taking place. So there are a lot of factors that are contributing to that. Kind of environment they are, kind of what you call the visual things they are watching, from time to time, friends they are going with. All of these environment also are contributing to this what you call ego attitude. This is what I believe. I don't believe that there is a child who is born or who has this tendency from the beginning, but I blame the environment, and I blame the kind of the things that the parents are introducing in the house, and I blame the way the parents are living inside the house. So if you ask me, in my personal opinion, that the previous nation, they don't suffer from this disease, but we are suffering from it because of the advancement of the technology and the kind of a life we adopted for ourselves, which 100% is un-Islamic. So that's why we end up having some of the attitude of the Western community.
He says we have an unconscious part, and it's like he mentioned the theory like an iceberg, and say like the iceberg you can only see a little up and all are down the water. Like he said, our personality, the conscious part is that small part, and the all other are like unconscious part, and that may control what we do. Means like some things we do are not our control.
Our control. That's not true. How many people are doing things out of negligence in comparison to the people who are doing things out of consciousness? Yeah. They're the minority. So if I come and I look at the minority and then I focus on the minority, I make it like the basis of the system, that will be injustice. So people know what you're doing. People are conscious about what they're doing. But there are some rare cases which a person has to prove it to the law. That I was
for the limitations of psychoanalysis would be the first thing is the method itself, especially in Freudian's theory, in which his method would be case studies. And case studies would be hard to be replicated nor experimented. So this cannot affirm, so people after that cannot prove his theory nor affirm his theory. And then another thing about psychoanalysis, the case studies would be the sample itself is not generalizable, because at that time, for instance, his sample would be his clients, and his clients were sexually traumatized when they were kids. And this is not generalizable to the whole population, so this is also problematic. So another thing about case studies is that it is made subject to biasness, or it is not transparent. As we can see, how Freud collects his data from his clients was that he listened to the clients for a session, but he didn't write anything. So after the session was finished, then he would write things. But this would be problematic if he writes things that is affirming to his theory only and forget about things that is opposing his theory. So that may subject to biases and it is not transparent. Another limitation about psychoanalysis is Freud's idea that he sees man as generally bad. And we can see here from his idea of ego, superego, instant gratification, pleasure principle, only tells that human beings' main goal, the end pleasure. So this is problematic as well. Another thing is that the value of determinism is very prominent in psychoanalysis. So determinism here makes it seem as if human beings are hopeless. We only do things because it's our fate. That's how psychoanalysis sees it. So for the new outlook for psychoanalysis, we think it is so important to still see psychoanalysis as it is, because psychoanalysis still studies unconsciousness, and Islam believes in unconsciousness as well as consciousness. But the thing that we have to change is the method itself. So psychoanalysis, their method would be case studies. In case of Freudians, his method would be case studies. So we should change that into something that can be experimented or correlated, something that can be further researched. And another thing that we should change is his idea that man is generally bad. We have to change it into seeing man as having fitra. Because in Islam we believe that we are born with nafs and akal. So we can look into that and see that man is not generally bad. We have our bad side and we also have our good side. Our akal is used as a tool of intellect. That differentiates us between human beings and animals. So with this, we can see that akal is used as a tool to guide us to make choices. And with making choices, we have free will, which is also opposing to psychoanalysis' initial human nature ideal, which is determinism. So if we look into it, if we have free will and we see human beings as having fitra, then we can see human beings as more hopeful and have their own goals. That is not just seeking for